Burndown chart is famous and notorious tool for tracking team's velocity and for helping planning and adjusting as you go during the sprint. It's only available for Scrum methodology. For Kanban project, there is no Burndown chart report. But many people get are lost with this one. They think it's very complicated, but actually it's very simple. And here is why. Okay, first thing you need to know is that Jira gives you Burndown chart based on many options, but you don't need all of them. What you're interested is story points or remaining time estimates. I have it included right now. Remaining time estimates is for the projects where you start your sprint with every issue estimated in hours. Like during the planning, you break down into tasks and you estimate every task. You have original estimation everywhere, and when people are going through the sprint, they are logging time and they have to log their time twice a day, gradually, not like at the middle of the week or once every 3 days. They have to log their time 2 times a day as they go gradually. This is very important because if they don't, this will screw up your Burndown chart and it will give you no information whatsoever. In this case, we start our Burndown chart with the hours marks on the left side and days at the bottom. This point, I will get to this point later. Okay, so when you choose remaining time estimate, your left side is hours estimations. When you start your sprint with start points, or you view your Burndown with start points, your left side is start points. And you see there is a dot here, and there is a dot here. And this dot is actually a starting point for the gray line. The gray line is also known as the perfect line. This is ideally how your team should burn through your sprint. This is the prediction, how it needs to happen in the perfect world. This is why it's called the perfect line. So this point here tells us, or this mark here tells us that we start our sprint with 42 hours committed. And if we go back to story points, this point here tells us that we start our sprint with 10 story points committed to the sprint. This is where we start, and this is the buffer I guess Jira decides to give you for different adjustments. For remaining time estimate Burndown chart, you will have the perfect line, you will have the red line, which is remaining values, and you will have the green line, which is time spent. For story points Burndown chart, you only have the perfect line and you have the remaining values. So let's start with the red line, since it's common for both Burndown charts. Red line is if gray line is your perfect line, the red line is your actual line. This line shows you how your team actually is burning through the sprint. So if we look at the story point Burndown chart here, we can see that obviously that our red line is above the perfect line. When your red line is above the perfect line, this means your team will not finish everything they've committed, because they are not burning down as many as they should be burning down in order to finish in time everything they have, in order to deliver in time everything they've committed to deliver. So when your red line is above the perfect line, the decision your team has to make is they have to drop some commitments. They have to drop as many commitments as they need for the actual line, for the red line to hit the perfect line. And after this point, they should be moving perfectly aligned with the perfect line. Same thing for remaining time estimates. If you're above the line, you drop your commitments, and after you've dropped your commitments, you then move on perfectly aligned with the gray line. So this is for the case when the red line is above the perfect line, and the case when the red line is below the perfect line. This means that your team can actually deliver more than they've committed to deliver. And in this case, what you have to do, if you have noticed that your red line is way above the perfect line, what you have to do is you have to pick up more stories from the backlog or more issues from the backlog up until the point when your red line hits the perfect line. This means that you have picked up as many as you can deliver, and after that point you have to go perfectly aligned with the gray line. These are the main two approaches you should take, and these are it's regarding the planning. You can plan and you can predict if your team will be in time, if they won't be in time, and decide and make a decision early on a stage, not like at the end of the story of the sprint when suddenly you realize that you have 2 days left in the sprint and only 50% of value delivered, but it lets you see the problem at the beginning. And make a decision, which is very great, which is a change value that Scrum provides. But in order to have correct statistics and be able to see all those problems early, you have again to make sure that all the issues are moving through the workflow correctly. Your team, if you're working with the remaining time estimate, your team must track their time at least twice a day and move stories, tasks, or subtasks through the workflow as you have agreed to move it through the workflow, so that you can see, so that Jira gives you correct statistics, because that is the data Jira will be based on while giving you the burndown chart. For story points, you also have to keep your eye on statuses of your stories and make sure that they move through the workflow properly and correctly. And in that case, your burndown chart will be correct. These spikes here are usually telling you, I think you understand already that these spikes are telling you that the sprint scope has changed. So down spikes are telling you that a lot of stories were removed, and up spikes are telling you that a lot of stories were added. And this should not be happening. As you know, Scrum says that sprint scope should not change unless you need to drop some commitments in order to deliver, or you need to pick up more commitments in order to deliver. So that's it. Pretty simple. Just know that you're fine. Your sprint is healthy, as long as your red line is perfectly aligned with the perfect line. Red line above or red line below, you have a problem and you have to make a decision. Make sure your team tracks their values and their time properly.